Welcome to the introduction to brightspace, which is D2L. It's just the new version, and they upgraded to the new version so that D2L would work on all mobile devices, iPads, phones, etc. But it's still D2L, and they gave it a new name called brightspace. So this is your home page for brightspace, and you can see across the top some basic tools that students and faculty see, which include Zoom, NetTutor, that's online tutoring for students, basic help, FAQs, and NMHU resources, which includes access to our library, an ITS support ticket, and your Office 365. So again, here we are in the home page. On the left, you'll find all of your courses that you are the instructor in. Now, you'll see they all have very different pictures. And you will have a default picture for your course, which might be tulips or something. You can change the picture by simply clicking on, move your mouse to your picture, click on the three dots, and click on Change Image. And then you can type in some kind of relevant keyword about your course. Let's say, oh well, I'd have to spell it right, counseling. And you can then pick from many pictures that you think might be a clue for your course. So if you change the image, just simply click on Use this image, and that's now the picture that will show up in relation to the title of your course. The other things on this home page include ITS announcements, a direct link here to your Office 365 calendar, and your OneDrive. I want to mention OneDrive. OneDrive is some online storage. If you save your PowerPoints or files here in OneDrive, it is private to you, but you can access it from any computer, any internet connection that you have. You log into Brightspace and you can go to OneDrive and you can find any files here. So you'll have to sign in, so I'm going to skip that. But you don't have to carry your USB drives if you forgot your PowerPoint. If you save it on your OneDrive, it'll be right there. Finally, on this home page, there is faculty help. These are video recordings that I've created on topics that they're 3 to 5 minutes, so they're very quick. And if you forget how to do something in the video I'm recording now, these are much shorter and targeted to one topic per video. So we've created similar videos for students on how to use Brightspace. And when students log in, they see here student help, and they see all of their recordings. At the bottom, we also have technical support links, and including Zoom. If you're teaching by Zoom, there's a phone number here to get help. And on the left side is a phone number to get help in general from IT. So let's enter a course. I'm going to enter in one of my courses. And you'll notice across the top that the tools have also changed. If you have used D2L before, you might remember that we had assessment. And under assessment, we had Dropbox, we had quizzes, we had grades. These are all the same tools, but we've broken them out so that you don't have to go through a drop-down menu to get to them. They're just right there, easy to access. Another change is Dropbox is now called Assignments, and it works just the same. For those of you who are new, we're going to go through each one of these tools one by one and how to use them. Let's just quickly look at the home page. Here you can add an announcement of your own. I've created a video announcement. You have your calendar. You have part of your content menu. And that's about it. So let's start off with content. Content is where you will upload your files. Even if you're teaching face-to-face, it's very helpful to upload any files that you're using for class here. That way, if you have a student who's out, you don't have to remember to print it and bring it. You can just say, go online, and you have your file there that you missed from your class. So on the left side is the table of contents. If you have nothing in your course, under the table of contents, you'll just see add a module. As you add modules, modules are like folders. Folders are a way to organize whatever you upload. And I've organized mine by topic. In this course, I have the basic course info, introduction, course design, developing course materials, etc. So you might organize yours by week or by chapter or unit, whatever makes sense for your course. I find doing it by week is often helpful because then students can quickly identify, oh, I need to go to week 3 and get that article or do that assignment, because that will match and correspond with your syllabus. So you have your table of contents. The way to get started is to add a module. So we'll add a module here. Give it a name and press your Enter key. And your module now shows in the table of contents. You click on the module. You can now go to the center of your screen and you can add content to the center of your screen. If you click on Upload and Create, you have many items that you can add to this folder, to this module. One of them is to upload a file. I mentioned a reading or a PowerPoint. So if you click on Upload a file, you can look for it in your computer, which is where it's probably at. Click on Upload, and then you have to go find your article. So for example, I have that one. I'm going to click there, I'm going to click Open, and it will appear here. And now I'm going to click Add. Oh, I need to give it a name. It's still loading, I apologize. It was a big file. So if that happens to you and you see the progress bar, just wait a moment. Now that it's here, see, it was 18 megs, you can click Add, and there you go. It's always good to demonstrate when things don't go as expected. All right. Other things that you can do is add a video. Let's say you have a YouTube video or an MP3 file that you have on your computer. You can click here. You can create a file. When you create a file, it gives you a box and a name. And I'm going to say this is called Reading Assignment. And I can write the directions here. And I can click Publish. When we come back to my folder page, here we have the article I uploaded, and here we have the file I just created. And when you click on that, this is what it looks like, with typos included. So, by the way, you saw that I have a typo, so you can click on something and you can edit the file by clicking on the down arrow, choosing Edit, make your changes, and click on Update. Okay. The other thing I would recommend is if you have organized by week or by chapter or unit, that kind of organization, if you have an assignment associated with that, I would recommend that you create it in the folder of the week that it's due. And you would do that by simply selecting New Discussion, New Assignment, New Quiz. And if I create a new discussion here, it's going to bring me to the discussion board setup. We're going to go in a different way, but it will add this link to your folder. So that's one way to put a discussion or assignment within a folder. There's another way to do that, and that's by clicking on existing activities. If you created all your discussions first, and now you want to put it in the folder, you would click on existing activities, and you would choose discussion, and it would say which one of the discussions, these are all my discussions by the way, which one of the discussions would you like to include in this folder or module. So I'm going to click on academic honesty, and now my discussion that I had created before is linked inside my content folder or the content module. Okay? So that's a good practice if you want to follow an organization. Like within a unit, this is what you have to read, this is the activity that you have to do. And if you keep those items together, it helps students to be sure to finish things on time and not get lost looking for different pieces of the course when you keep them together in a content folder. So those are creating a link is if you want to go to another website, and I mentioned YouTube. Practice test. That would be the title of a YouTube video that I found, and then I would get the link. So obviously this is not a practice test, but here's a TED Talk. And I would copy that, and I would go and put it there. And I can choose whether I want it to open in a new window or inside brightspace. It doesn't really matter which one you choose. And create. And that's how it looks like opening up within the course. And that's what the link looks like in the folder, in the content folder. So we're going to move now to assignments. That completes content. Moving on to assignments. Assignments are where students can upload a file to you so that you can grade it online. This is very handy even if you're teaching face-to-face, because you don't pick up papers and have to carry them home. There's no discussion about whether it was late. The computer will indicate whether the assignment was submitted on time, and you won't get any but I gave it to you, you must have lost it kind of excuses, because it's either uploaded or it's not uploaded. Further, you can grade these items online very easily, and so you reduce a lot of paperwork, and you don't have to bring the papers back and hand them out. As soon as you have them graded, students are able to get that feedback, so they don't have to wait for the next class. So there's a lot of advantages to using the assignments in brightspace, even if you're teaching face-to-face. And of course, if you're teaching online, this is the primary method of getting materials from your students, better than having them email it to you. So again, we went to assignments. We're going to create a new submission folder. This is the place where students will upload an assignment. And we're going to call this Reading 5. That's the name of the folder and the assignment. Originality checks for plagiarism. So if you are having them submit something that they might potentially have copied off material from other sources, you would go ahead and check that. You can decide whether you want to have each student submit an assignment, or if you've got students working in groups and you want just the group to submit one item then you can choose that option, and you choose the group that you've already set up, and it will create one folder submission for each group rather than for each student in class. That's pretty handy if you have 4 students working together and they're going to create one document, one project. You don't want all 4 of them to submit it individually. That way you can grade it once and they all get the same grade. So I'm going to use the individual submission folder. In my gradebook, if I have categories, I can choose what category this assignment goes to. And in my gradebook, if I have already created my gradebook, I can select the reading that this, or the assignment grade column that is associated with this. You'll notice here I have reading 2, but in fact I'm creating reading 5. So I'm going to choose new grade item. This is going to put in a column in my gradebook for this assignment, and this assignment is reading 5. Oh, not reading 6, reading 5. And I'm not going to choose a category. I can change the number of points. I want this to be 20 points. Can exceed means that I might be the kind of teacher who will give someone 25 points. Even though the assignment was only worth 20, it was so amazingly outstanding that I want to give them extra points. If I check this box, the computer will allow me to give them 25 points instead of the maximum of 20. If I check bonus, then this entire 20 points is an extra credit assignment. It's outside of your standard 500 points for your courses, or however many your total course points are. This allows you to give students extra credit assignments, and if they do it, it adds those points to their grade, and if they don't do it, there's no penalty because it was extra credit. And there's nothing you can change there. This is where you would add a rubric. I'm going to show you how to do rubrics. When you add a rubric, you have to have already created one, and we're going to create one. So when you create a rubric, then you can choose this add rubric, or you can create it right now. This is the visibility is what students see. I assume that you probably want students to always see their grade, so I never change. Grade item is always available, and I can click save. Now remember, when we clicked on new grade item, we said it was worth 20 points. We still have to say here again, it's worth 20 points. And I did not select a rubric at this time. I can always go back and change that. I'm going to give directions, read and analyze. And I can attach a file. Maybe I have the directions on a separate Word document already. Maybe I have a reading associated with the assignment. I can add that here. And I'm going to hit save and close. So you can see that reading 5 is here, but what is that? That I with the slash through it. Well, that means the folder is hidden from the students, so we should go and check out why that is. Anytime you have an assignment that you need to make a change to, click on the down arrow, hit Edit Submission folder, and now we can make changes. Let's go to Restrictions. And there it is. By default, any assignment you're creating is hidden from the user. So you'll want to uncheck that box so students can see the assignment. Further, if you want to have a due date, you want to check that box, put in the due date. If you click in the date, it will bring up the calendar. If you click in the time, it'll bring up 30-minute time slots. You can type in something that's not in the selection, and that's okay. So I have a due date. I don't use end date because that prevents something from being available to students after the end date. So if I did have a student who was legitimately out, like for illness or something, and they have an assignment that they want to submit late, if I choose end date, it's no longer available to them, and I have to go back in and make it available. If I select due date, it will allow them to submit after the due date. It will tell me that it was late, and at that time I can decide whether to deduct points or if it was an excused lateness. We also have the ability to add special settings for students. Let's say a student needs more time, or a student, like I mentioned, that you have a student who's excused. You can add users to special access that will give them different dates or different times. If you can do this in quizzes as well, to give a student more time on a test if you've been notified that they have special needs. All right, so we'll hit save and close. And we're back to our submission folders. And you'll notice that the eyeball is gone. This binocular kind of icon says that you are checking for plagiarism. And the one that looks like a key is that it is tied to your gradebook. So when you're looking at your submission, you'll notice that test 1 is not in the gradebook. And you'll notice that essay 1 is not visible to students. So these little icons can also kind of tell you if you've set things up correctly. Once you have a submission and students are posting, to grade them, what you want to do is click on the titles. The learning outcomes is my first assignment. And now I can see all of my students. So I just scrolled down. Okay, I can see all of, these are faculty, by the way. I can see my students. Here's Professor Arshad, and he has submitted this document. And this is not red or giving me any warnings, so there's not a problem with plagiarism. It shows me the submission date, and I will click on it so that I can grade it. So now I'm going to grade this individual student's work. Here's Dr. Arshad, and here is his article. I can mark up the document in text right here if I want. For example, if I wanted to make a comment about this, I can click on markup document and type within the document. It will put in red notes for the students to read right where the problem is happening. Over here on the right side, I can type in comments over here in feedback. I can also give a recording of feedback. So I can record video or just audio and give them feedback that way. Sometimes that's helpful. Sometimes something is easier to explain by talking than typing, and they can get a sense of your tone and your feeling if they see audio or video there. So after I give feedback, I want to give some points here. And once I enter those points, I will hit publish, and those will go to the gradebook. And so that student's item will be graded, and I can click down here under next student and just go to the next student submission and continue my grading process. So I would click on Dr. Glover's article here, and it will load in the screen in a minute. There we go. Okay, so if there was a rubric associated with it, it would be here, and I would click on the rubric, and that's where I could do my feedback. So those are all the ways that you can provide feedback within an assignment. Let's move on to discussion. Discussion boards are helpful even for face-to-face classes because you have students who just are not comfortable talking in class, or they may need more time to think and process before they have something to say. In which case you can ask students to do a discussion online outside of class as an assignment. When you create a discussion, the first thing you have to do is create a forum. A forum is like a folder. It's the place where a discussion will happen. The topic is the discussion that will happen. So the forum is the place or the framework or the folder, however you want to conceptualize. But you have to have a forum before you can have a discussion. And the topics are the discussions. So I created a forum. See, I'll just show you what that looks like. New forum. Really, all you have to do is give it a title. And you only need one forum for the whole course. So you could create a forum that says social work 635, and that's it. It's basically a placeholder, as I said. And then after you've got one forum, you can begin creating your discussions. Your discussions will be created as new topics. Now I had that reading. So here you notice you have to choose, it's required that you choose a forum. And I'm going to choose the Social Work Albuquerque forum. You can choose to have a topic that everybody can participate in, or you can choose to have a topic assigned to a group. And in that case, again, you've already created your groups, you have to pick the group title that will get the discussion. When you choose that, let's say you have 4 students per group. Each group will have their own discussion board area. They can't read all the other students. They can only read the discussion of the people in their group. We're going to make this an open topic for everyone to access. And reading, I think I better make this 6. Reading 6. So you give your discussion a title. In the description, tell them what you want to include in the discussion. Tell them your expectations of content, quality, length, etc. And if you expect them to reply to another student. That's what goes in the description, along with the question that you want them to answer. Just type something there. I never allow students to post anonymously. If there's some kind of confidential information I want to get from students, please use a survey. That is anonymous, and only the summary information will be provided back to students. You can see the details. For example, you might ask how many students have someone in their family who abuses drugs. So they might not want to say that publicly, but if you did a survey, it would be anonymous, and the results might be that 10 out of 20 of your students have had that experience, but no one will know who those 10 students are. So in discussion boards, you want to know who's posting and what they're saying, so I never check that box. This second option requires you to decide and approve whether each post is public or not. And the last box is the one that I would recommend you check. And that is that each student must make their own post before they can read anybody else's. This makes sure that they didn't read 10 students' answers and then try to make up their own answer that was similar. So I would always check that box. And we'll skip that for now. Unlock topic means that students can see it. You can set due dates, and I'm going to hit save and close. So it was the last one I created. I have to go to the bottom. There it is. Reading 6, you'll notice I did not add it to the gradebook. And this is the setting I chose. The students must post first. These were my directions. If it were added to the gradebook, it would have that little key icon that we discussed. If it were separated by groups, it would have the little group icon. So again, the icons will kind of tell you if you have set things up properly. So let's go in and edit this topic. Let's look at restrictions. So here I can hide items by group if that's what I need to do. Let's go to assessment at the top. Assessment is where you would add it to the gradebook or where you could add a rubric. And that's about it. Oh, one more thing about grading discussion boards. Allow assessment of individual posts. If your discussion board and you ask the students to post and to reply to another student, and you want to grade both parts, you do want to check this box, and probably you want to do the sum of the scores. For example, if the discussion is worth 10 points, your post is worth 5, your reply to another student is worth 5. And you want it to total both of those items to show up in the gradebook. You'll want to choose the sum of those scores rather than an average or something else. So that way you can just score each one 5, 5, and it will add that together, and in the gradebook it'll be worth 10 points. Alrighty.